G'day, Rockhound here! I've been reading and watching a lot of reviews, feature articles and commentary about the finals throughout the game's development since the game was first announced a couple of years ago. Many of my gaming mates post reviews and articles about the game in the Ditopia Discord where I hang out because we all take an interest in how the game is being received. Additionally, I always think if you plan on reviewing a game that it's imperative to listen and read others' views about the game so that your own review doesn't just focus on what you like or the way you play a game. After all, a good review or feature on a game should be statements about what a game is and what it's trying to achieve, and then evidence for whether it does those things well or not. A good piece of journalism will have only a sprinkle of personal opinion thrown in, usually to make the author more relatable to the reader. Anyhow, yesterday I read a feature piece about the finals on PC Gamer written by one of their staff writers, Morgan Park. Now, as we go through the article in this video, I want you to remember that PC Gamer describes itself as the global authority on PC games. We've been covering PC gaming for more than 20 years and continue that legacy today with worldwide print editions and around-the-clock news, features, esports coverage, hardware testing and game reviews. That claim effectively places PC Gamer in the position where they can have significant influence over the gaming community and how its members perceive the quality of games that PC Gamer writes features and reviews about. As such, I think they have a professional responsibility to deliver great journalism that doesn't just focus on the personal preferences of those creating the articles, certainly not in the same way that a Twitch streamer or YouTuber does, with their audience already knowing that that's the type of content they provide. Well, this PC Gamer article on the finals is embarrassingly bad. It is some of the worst journalism I have read from any leading outlet in the gaming industry. Let's dive into this piece of garbage. It's titled, "The Finals is Too Sweaty for Its Own Good." Now, firstly, have you ever heard of an FPS game that is so sweaty or competitive that the competitiveness is a detrimental element?
Cheeky breaky.
Well-made competitive shooters often end up as some of the most popular games around. Just look at Steam charts with Counter-Strike 2, Apex Legends, Team Fortress 2, PUBG and Call of Duty, which by the way, the Finals Open Beta currently ranks second out of those shooters. Let's see what the point of that title is though. This is the opening sentence. Inside of every FPS player are two beasts, the casual enjoyer of lightly competitive shooter romps and the sweaty coordinator yelling callouts and going only for headshots. Is this statement even close to being true? I know plenty of people that only want to play competitive shooters, and if the statement were true, wouldn't we see at least one lightly competitive shooter romp, whatever games that phrase is supposed to represent, in the top 10 games? Lucky for both of those beasts, the genre is brimming with really good options for every type of shooter fan. I bounce around shooters depending on the mood, but I'm still not sure what mood I should be in to enjoy the finals. Okay, so it sounds like the author is questioning whether the finals is actually a highly competitive shooter or not, but so far we actually only know that they struggle to decide where it sits for them. And why would we, as the reader, care about their personal preference for games? It shot right to the top of my most anticipated shooters, but I've put around 10 hours into the finals over 3 different alphas and betas now, and it's just not clicking. Now this is where things start to really go sideways. Despite the developer of the finals, Embark Studios, providing multiple trailers and written descriptions that explain exactly on the tin what the game is for close to 2 years now, the author of this article is somehow flipping their chips because they've continued thinking this game is for them based on Embark's accurate description, but have decided it somehow isn't actually for them after a whopping 10 hours over 4 playtests. That's right, they've played an average of 2.5 hours for each entire playtest before making that decision and now deciding that we really ought to know that they have an inability to know what type of game they actually want to play. Let's continue. Fundamentally, the final should rule. Guns. They're sleek, simple, and feel like battlefield guns with faster bullets. Yes, the guns are sleek and simple, but they only feel like battlefield guns with faster bullets if that refers to there being no projectile physics. The time to kill is much longer than any battlefield game. It's a lazy analogy and seemingly only thrown into the description because they probably picked up that about a quarter of the Embark Studios team are ex-DICE developers. The cosmetics offer more choice than we're used to in service games 2, every type of clothing is its own slot that can mix and match with outfits bought or earned on the Battle Pass. This is accurate, but completely misses the opportunity to do the most basic of reporting by informing the reader that the wide range of cosmetics in the game directly relates to the fact that it's free to play. It's one of the key benefits of the game for players, and the author didn't even bother to note it once in the entire article. And that ambitious destruction engine, it freaking works. Every class is outfitted with some way to blow stuff up, and it only takes a few minutes for a city block to become Swiss cheese. Entire landings drop, fold and crumble over each other, creating improvised ramps to higher floors or subtracting whole rooms from contention. This is geometric malleability on a scale I've never seen in a video game that isn't made of blocks. Fairly, this paragraph is probably the best one in the article. It's factual and provides due credit to the developers for having destruction in the game that is currently unmatched. But then things take a major turn for the worse. I like the maps, the guns, and the extremely dice vibrancy of the finals world, but I kinda hate how sweaty it is. I cannot believe that a PC Gamer editor would let a sentence like this make it into an article. There's only one response the editor should have made to this line, and that's, okay, we need to find someone else to write this article, someone who is actually into these types of games. The Finals is a fast-paced, chaotic, highly competitive shooter. You're going to compete with some of the most competitive FPS players around in this game, and it's been clear that that would be the case from very early on in the game's development. The only thing that differs for the Finals from other highly competitive shooters is the absolute hilarity of bringing entire buildings down around you while you try and win the game. It is the perfect FPS game for those who are highly competitive and have a sense of humor. It is based on a game show after all. Again, something the author fails to mention even once. And unfortunately, the author of this article was clearly the wrong person to be looking at this game, because it's just not for them. But the problem is that they haven't had the maturity to move past that and provide an opinion piece that takes into account what the game will be like for those people that are competitive, for those that like chaotic destructive play, and for those people the Finals is shaping up to be one of the best shooters to arrive on the gaming scene in a long time. Then the author decides to step it up a notch by titling the next section of the article, Try Harder, as if Embark Studios should have put more effort into making a game that is more suited to the author alone. They write, I promise I'm not salty, doubtful, that people are trying too hard in an FPS, because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm more irked that the Finals feels out of place as a hyper-competitive squad game, despite being a round-based game with medium-sized maps. Gunfights in the Finals feel a lot like a battle royale. Never once when I've been playing the Finals have I thought that combat in it feels like a battle royale. There's no slow build-up where you are eking out a strategic position so you can take that one crucial shot at an opponent, or are constrained by the closing circle and edging along beside a building doing your best to remain in cover. There is none of that. Sure, there are tactics and positioning, but the Finals operates at a level of speed and chaos where you generally just have to arrive on the scene with your team, dive right into a firefight and support each other as much as you can whilst insanity ensues. This is nothing like a battle royale. The 12-player lobby is divided into 4 teams and 3 fighting over one cash objective. Times to kill are high, somewhere between Overwatch and Apex Legends, which, just like in those games, places a huge emphasis on team fighting. The team that sticks together and focuses targets in unison can melt an entire squad before they can react. Yes, that's the entire point. It is a team game. If you operate as a team in unison, whether you are side by side or not, you stand the best chance of winning. Then the real truth of this article starts to become apparent. My takeaway is that it's always a bad idea not to be right next to your teammates, and yet it's so frustrating that your teammates often can't go where you can go. If I'm playing a light build, for instance, I get a very fun grapple hook that can zip me straight up to the rooftops, except oops, my teammates are both heavy builds with zero mobility gadgets whatsoever, so unless there's a map zip line to where I'm at, they can't follow me. So I'm just asking asking to get demolished by the first group I see. Reading this, it is absolutely obvious that for this author, their take in this article is founded on a skill issue. And is that really surprising if they've only played 2.5 hours of the game per playtest? If you're playing the finals and aren't working with your team by using the strengths of your character's build to the advantage of the team as a whole, then you just need to spend more time in the game. You shouldn't allow your character's abilities to escalate you in a position where you get completely separated from your team so that you effectively become a solo entering combat. You might be a light build arriving early at a location and at that moment choose to take an opponent out or start a cash out, but you're then going to use your fleet-footedness to keep yourself safe while your teammates arrive. The bit that says they can't follow me makes it obvious that the author does not understand that all builds can get to all parts of the map, and on the rare occasion they can't for some reason, like when a zip line has been destroyed, then usually they have some way of bringing the party to them. Cue the heavy with an RPG or sledgehammer. It's obvious that the finals was built with tight team play in mind, which gels with millions of Apex fans, but I prefer shooters that allow individuals to shine too. It's no coincidence that my two favourite competitive shooters, Rainbow Six Siege and Hunt Showdown, have strict one-shot headshot damage models that allow a single sharpshooter to turn the tide of a round. You won't see clutch moments like that in the finals, at least not while outnumbering a team is the same as beating them. This paragraph is just utter garbage. You won't see clutch moments like that in the finals. What? I've lost count of the number of times I've been downed and then watched one of my teammates perform a miracle to make a vital couple of kills, get the cash out steal, and save the day. As an example, here's a sweet little moment I just found from the last day or so of play, where Demeister took my statue into this little building, planning to revive me, only to discover that's where the opponents were hiding, but as they unwittingly jump through the window to attack us outside, he drops my statue, pushes them, and guns them both down in quick succession. This game is packed with clutch moments. So no, the finals probably won't enter my competitive rotation. It's too messy to take seriously and the objective modes aren't interesting. What's driving me up the wall is that the finals could be a fantastic, casually chaotic FPS sandbox if it wanted to be. Given the same exact set of tools in a different context, I think I'd be obsessed with the finals' malleable maps and top tier gun feel. Give me 6v6 team deathmatch so that fights are actually even more often, shorten TTKs to make individual play matter, let people go wild with destruction without the urgency of a single objective, and shorten those respawns. I want a competition, but I don't think a hectic attack defend mode with 4 teams and only 3 winners plays to the finals' strengths. So now the author is essentially asking for just another generic shooter. It's very clear this game just isn't to the author's personal taste. But why, when they realised that, didn't they hand the article over to someone else who could have judged the game without allowing their personal biases for game genres to get in the way of writing an article that would explain to readers who are into these types of games whether they are likely to enjoy the game or not? I try not to judge games for what they aren't and instead focus on what they are, but geez, it's like the ex-DICE folk at Embark set out to make something completely different from Battlefield and then accidentally made a better Battlefield with an identity crisis. Well, the author may try not to judge games for what they aren't and instead focus on what they are, but unfortunately that's exactly what they've done. Their personal preferences for the FPS genre circle around this article like a flock of moribund buzzards, and I believe that's purely a symptom of the state of gaming journalism in general. Publications continue to place volume ahead of quality, making their writers pump out multiple articles a day so that the authors never really have the time to properly research the games they write about. And the problem is, when you're as influential as PC Gamer, a bad take on a game can affect not only the players who might miss out on a game they would love, but also the livelihoods of the developers who work so hard to bring us the types of games we've been crying out for. PC Gamer's editors should actually be ashamed of allowing a piece like this to make it to publication. This article is terrible. It's a joke. It gives players an impression of the finals that is completely misleading and comes across as the gaming preferences of an author who hasn't been given the time they need to provide a sound opinion. It makes the author look bad and it makes PC Gamer look bad. PC Gamer, you need to do better than this. Pull this article down and take the time to provide a better researched and more unbiased take. Gamers deserve that from you. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Give a like or comment as you see fit, and enjoy the rest of your day. Kia kaha, stay strong.
Everybody knows the world ain't right. Down on your knees, get up and fight.